very ancient history associated with the area. I'd like to do now is to move our story forward to the year 1600 and what we call the coming of the English to this location. This northwest area of Ireland was the last area of Ireland to be ruled by the old Gaelic chieftains O'Neill and O'Donnell in the old ways. But the king decided he wanted to bring order to this locality, and the way he decided to do that was to bring over Scottish and English Protestants called planters who would be loyal to him, take the land from the native Irish people and give it to them. So in the year 1600, a gentleman called Sir Henry Douglas sailed up the River Foyle with 4,000 people with him to establish a settlement. 18 miles up the river, he came across what was then called the island of Derry. Now it's not technically an island because it's not surrounded by water, but it is surrounded by the river on 3 sides and by a very marshy, boggy area on the 4th side, now internationally known as the Bog Side. And he thought this would be an area that he could defend against the native Irish people, who are obviously not going to welcome them with open arms, coming to take over their land. So they set up a settlement here in 1600, and things didn't go so good until the year 1608, when a native Irish chieftain called Sir Cahir O'Doherty came in from Donegal and he burned whatever small city was here to the ground. The king was not displeased. Or as we say around here, he was a wee bit peeved. But he decided to hell with that, not going to give up after one attempt, going to have a second go. Second time round, he got the guilds of London. This was the businessmen of London of their day involved in his affairs over here. They came over, they surveyed the whole area, looking for a place to make their settlement, and they eventually decided this was the correct location. But they did one thing fundamentally different this time. They decided to build the walls you see here behind me for protection. Started to build these walls in the year 1614, completed in the year 1618. 5 years to build, at the ginormous cost of almost £10,000. It was an absolute fortune of money at that particular time. The walls themselves are 1 1/8 miles in circumference, and it is the only example of a complete walled city you will find anywhere in Ireland, and one of the best examples you find anywhere in Europe. One very important thing then happened. That was that the name of this area, which had been called Derry for over 1,000 years, was then changed to Londonderry because it was the London businessmen who built this city. Now you may or may not be aware, but that name is very contentious right to the present day. It wasn't actually until 1984 that the nationalist or Catholic controlled Londonderry City Council changed the name of the City Council back to Derry City Council. And there was moves through the courts a few years ago to have the name of the city legally changed from Londonderry to Derry, but the judge made his announcement and said that the name of the city remains as Londonderry, and according to him, the only way that can be changed is by a petition to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, because the city has been formed by royal charter. The most recent one dating from 1662, so watch this space, and it's definitely not going to go away. Now you probably have observed yourselves as you've been driving around Northern Ireland that all the roadsides are going to Londonderry, except maybe in certain spots where the London has been scraped off of it. When you drive around the south of Ireland, you don't have that difficulty because you only use Londonderry. Maybe that gives you a better understanding of the situation. Let's go over now to the walls and we'll talk about the famous siege. Follow me.